Welcome everybody to Cinematic Conversations. We have a special evening for you, and we have the great and wonderful Candy Clark with us, and also Kelly Kitchens will be co-hosting tonight. So Kelly, tell me about when you first met Candy. What was that like?
Oh, it was a force of nature. I met her in 2014, I believe it was, at the Lone Star Film Festival. And I was doing publicity, and she came in and was just like, "Hi, I'm here." And I'm like, "Hi, I love you already."
And you kept kissing my ring. I'm like, "Stop, Kelly, please." You know, it's getting kind of wet. But you persisted.
You know what? We had a ball. We laughed. I took some pictures of her, and she was just laughing up a storm. And it's probably one of my favorite pictures of all time. And
I like that picture of us in front of the Man Who Fell to Earth poster, because it's kind of dark and
moody. Yeah, because she
put that on my page. I put that on my page a few times.
When was that? 2018 or 19? For Men Who Fell to Earth. It was
I'd have to look at the picture with the date.
Yeah. And she came in for that. I forgot who brought you in for that? Were you just in town? Do you remember? Because I know your brother brought you.
My brother and I came. We ate down the street, and then we came over. It was really great.
It was really
fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. So
I like that old theater that they restored. You know, those film fanatics, you know, bought this theater and restored it and painted it, and you know, it was really special. It was wonderful.
It was actually the Texas Theater, which is down in Oak Cliff.
The historic Texas Theater.
Yes.
Because you know what happened there in 1963 was
Oswald
Yes, Oswald was captured in there. They used to have a black seat where he was sitting.
Yeah.
They took that away.
See there, I know stuff, a few things.
You do.
Yeah.
So anyway, but she's from Fort Worth, so she's one of us.
I am.
And
so how did a girl from Fort Worth get to be in the movies?
What?
How did a girl from Fort Worth get to be in Hollywood movies?
Well, to New York City on a kind of a whim. And this was in 1968, and I got a youth fair. WA was offering a $40 one-way ticket for the, young people that summer.
Yes.
And I went there, and I was just going to stay for a week, and I wound up staying for 4 years. I fell in love with New York City from the airplane as we were landing. I took and we were landing. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and the pink and gold, sun was hitting the buildings. And it was just, I'm never going back. I moved to New York City from the airplane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I just made up my mind. That's it.
What was it that you were going to do in New York, or what did you do for 4 years?
Well, I was just going to stay for 2 weeks, so I had really no plan. It's kind of like
you only had 2 weeks.
What's his name? Joe Buck from Midnight Cowboy, just staring up at the buildings. I couldn't believe how tall they were, and what a fascinating place New York City was. I was about, 19, and I just was. So I eventually, I stayed at the Y for a while, and somebody's here. Open the door. And job working at this little company called Finderhood for $3 an hour or something like that, and eventually got an apartment, and then I started building my portfolio for modeling, and that's what I got into, was modeling.
So what was your first modeling job?
Jesus, my dream was to work for 17 magazine, and I finally got a booking.
Oh.
Mostly I did like teenage fashion, like Ingenue and Mademoiselle, and
That's a pretty big deal.
and 17. It
So
was a good deal.
Yeah. So how did you move from modeling to movies?
Well, heard about being an extra. And so I went to this casting director's office, and he placed me on it was this movie with Dustin Hoffman called Who is Harry Kellerman and Why is he saying those things about me? So I was in a crowd of about 200 people, and I loved it. They had a big table full of donuts and coffee, and most of sat around and waited. And there was Dustin Hoffman, and we just went through this revolving door like a million times. And I've found that section in the movie of Who is Harry Kellerman, and there's a person that you can barely see, and I think that's me. I really dressed up,
That's awesome.
and tried to look good in case I got photographed, but someone was kind of blocking me as I was walking through the revolving door. But it was so neat. And I went back to the casting office and said, I'd love to do more extra work. And that's where I met Bruce, who was the casting director for actually The Godfather. And he asked me, hey, you want to come and watch him shoot the screen test for The Godfather? And I said, yeah. That's, back in the 70s, you just walk off with anybody and, nothing bad would happen. So I wound up going to Queens or somewhere, and like Brooklyn, Queens, somewhere. It might have been Silver Cups. I'm not sure. It was a long time ago. And I met Francis Coppola. Huh?
And you met Francis Coppola?
Yes. And I even did a screen test.
What did you do? Which part did you do a screen test for?
It was a little silly thing that, Francis Coppola told me later that he almost got fired because of this screen test, because they were monitoring his every move. And he had sent this piece of film, and he said he was wasting film, and Francis told me he almost got let go because of this stupid screen test. But it was just, he and I improvised this silly scene where he would pretend to, I had a cape that was very, very long, a black cape, and he would pretend to wind down. And so I'd kind of bend my knees, and my feet, it looked like my legs disappeared. And then he cranked me back up. I stood up straight, and anyway, it was nothing. And Francis, that was my first screen test, and it almost got the director fired.
That's amazing.
But it didn't.
Wouldn't it be great to find that piece of film?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be.
Yeah.
I can't even find the screen test for American Graffiti.
Oh.
I asked for that to see it later, and George said, I said, I'd really like, because there are screen tests for some of the actors, on YouTube and all. And he said, it came out black. I'm like,
oh,
well, then why did you hire me? And he said, well, I liked what I heard the viewfinder. Okay, good enough.
that works.
So what happened between Francis Ford Coppola and the wonderful screen test and getting the screen test for American Graffiti?
Well, the same casting person, Fred Root, LA, and he kept me in mind for this movie he was casting with John Huston called Fat City.
Great movie.
And I kept telling him, I don't want to be an actor. I just want to be an extra.
That's different.
Kept turning him down. What an idiot. Anyway, I said that 1,000,001 times. And finally he said, well, you got to come in and out for this role. He wouldn't let me off the hook. And so
Thank goodness.
I said, well, I drove a hard bargain. Okay, you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'll come, but I want to go to Disneyland and I want to go to the Academy Award. So cut to me sitting behind on the third balcony behind a pillar with these binoculars that I'd rented in the lobby. And he had an assistant who took me to Disneyland.
That's awesome.
So that time for me to do my end of the bargain, which was try out for this role. And so there was this very difficult scene, and I had no idea how to do it. And they called it come in for a reading. So I had this scene and I actually read it. I didn't know.
Right.
I just read. There's my reading. And I had this hat on that said Disneyland across it that I'd bought for the purpose, because it was a crying scene. And I bought it for the purpose of ducking my head behind this hat and making a sound. And, you know, I was sweating. I wore a blouse in the middle of summer trying out for this part, sweating so hot. And after I finished my reading, I off running practically to the elevators, and I hear feet behind me. I'm like, no, I just want to be an actor. And Frederick said, well, they want you to come back for a screen test. I'm like, oh no.
So you're thinking I can get another director fired.
Huh?
You're thinking maybe I can get another director fired. So
anyway, it was, you know, when I look back on it, it didn't hurt to say, no, I want to be an extra 8 million away. But anyway, so I come back and I'm going to shoot a screen test. And we go to this studio and they have this cutaway car where the whole front end is, but it has, you know, the car seats and everything. And it's a scene. I remember Margot Kidder was there and Jennifer Salt. These were the finalists, me, Margot Kidder, Jennifer Salt.
Wow.
And Jeff Bridges was there. And I thought, wow, he's cute. I like him. And I thought he was just my screen test partner, but it turned out he was trying with all the anyway. So I thought I'll just kind of model my way through this screen test, because try to say the dialogue as naturally as possible and try to, you know, appear relaxed, which is a trick that you learn, you know, through modeling.
Right.
You have to have an instant relationship with these other models, you know, and act like you knew them forever and you're real relaxed and you're hanging all over them. Anyway, so I applied that technique to the screen test, and lo and behold, I got the part. And it was like, so thrilled, because Jeff and I, from the screen test, we started dating.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was love at first sight. So got a boyfriend and a part, wound up in Stockton, California. And, you know, that part was a big part in Fat City, but it got whittled down slowly but surely, because they've finally realized that I had no idea about acting or hadn't taken any lessons or anything. Just got thrown into this, and beginner.
So
Fat City, great movie.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Strongly recommend everybody go see that.
Oh, Fat City is a master.
Yeah. I remember when I was in New York, it just came on television once, and I said, what is this? And
it's very Steinbeck, very, you know, Stacy Keach, Susan Terrell, who was nominated for her role. And
so
F.
what was it like doing that first role? I mean, that's a major film, major director, a very serious picture for somebody without any, experience, a lot of modeling experience. But what was it like the first scene you had to do?
Realized that I didn't know the first thing about acting or the lingo of directing or, hit your marks or where's your light or any of that. And so they hired this coach. They brought this coach down and this acting coach teach me how to act like in, 5 minutes. And poor Jeff got thrown into these coach lessons with me. I wound up playing, throughout each lesson because it was just all Greek to me, and they're trying to do this cram course of acting. And other than that, it was fantastic. I mean, Ray Stark he was the producer, and he loved John Huston, and Susan Terrell lived on a houseboat, so she always had some crazy person, visiting her, and
Wow.
Stacy was great, and Jeff and I, we stayed at the Holiday Inn, I think it was, next to the Civic Center, and there was always a dance going on, or boxing, or roller derby. So we were over there a lot. Yeah.
So by halfway through the film, do you think you were just sort of getting into the flow of what it was like?
No. And my part, like I said, got whittled down smaller and smaller. It was a good part, but I was just a green. And but John Huston never seemed to despair or not like me, or
yeah,
it was very sweet to me all the time. We always got invited. Ray Stark and John Huston would put on these weekend food parties, and John Huston would try to get me and Jeff to drink that tequila with the worm in it. We didn't do it. We were too scared. But they had boat trips, and it was just every weekend there was something to do with Ray Stark and John Huston and the other actors. It was great.
So after that experience, which was clearly a lot of fun, but probably a little bit stressful,
especially the cram course of acting.
Right.
That was not fun.
So afterwards, do you say, like, I never want to do that again, or I want more of that?
No, I was hooked, and I loved LA. And I had such a great experience, other than the Jeff Corey acting lessons.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do more, and I had at that point got a really nice expert, and but I was really I started going to classes and picked up on, slowly but surely, the idea behind acting, and took a bunch of improv classes, and, throughout classes. I haven't gone to any classes in the last year or so because we've been shut-ins.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a good
but we're almost out. Anyway, but between Fat City and American Graffiti, I did one little part TV show called Room 222.
Yes, I remember that.
I was the Witch of Whitman High. That's the name of the episode.
So
my amulet.
So let's talk about American Graffiti, which is a film that I so much love and always enjoy watching. If nothing else, it's got like the best soundtrack of like any.
It does. That really makes it. It really helps. The George got all that music, 41 songs for $40,000.
Wow.
All of those acts were dead in the water right then.
Yeah.
You know, we shot the film in 72, and the logo says where we're 62, which is only 10 years prior.
Yeah.
Really. But it seemed like a lifetime when it came to music and how the styles had changed.
Oh, of course.
You know,
I mean,
it was the Rolling Stones and all of that, and all that oldies stuff was pretty much, you know, their careers were, you know, kind of gone. But thanks to American Graffiti,
Yeah.
they were brought back to life. And
I
so
think-
were car shows, and
yeah.
you know, that whole era was revived.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who, you know, didn't grow up in that era first heard those songs from the movie and then went out and bought the record. It's one of those soundtrack records that, you know, sold probably as much as the movie did.
Oh, so many. And yeah, the Wolfman Jack, you know,
Yeah.
remember, he was big in Texas, and his career, you know, blossomed, and he was doing county fairs and, you know, all this stuff and, you know, that really helped so many people. And without American Graffiti being such a smash, George wouldn't have gone on to be the billionaire he is today.
Right.
You know,
there would be no Star Wars.
all he
without
had
that.
before that was THX 1138, which was,
A very nice film, a very good film, but not financially.
you liked it, eh?
Yeah.
I thought it was, you know, I happened to see it by chance when it came out when I was in New York City, and I'm like, wow, all this running. And it was obvious they were in a parking garage running up and down Robert Duvall, running. I'm like, where's the plot? But anyway,
It's around the next
American
corner.
Graffiti put him on.
So you want to tell the story about how you got that role? I mean, it clearly the casting person who casted that film knew you, right?
Yes.
And so called you up and said, "Hey, don't you want to be?"
I
in
said,
this
I
film?"
just want to be an extra. No. I never drop that line. Every movie now, I just want to be an extra.
So
That's my tagline.
I love it.
when you were
I can imagine, you know, just a lifetime of doing extra work, but you know, people do it.
so talk about that role, or did you know that was the role, or did you have other roles you auditioned for?
Oh, I was a terrible auditioner. I had so many opportunities. When I look back, I'm like, you know, but anyway, this was just a meeting. George just meeting people. So it had been a long time since I'd gotten a part, you know, a whole year from Fat City, and all I'd gotten was room 222,
Right.
Amulet. That's that special, memorable line. And so I thought, I'm dressing as the character. And I'd heard it took place in the 50s. And so I found a Letterman and a chain, and I put a ring around my neck, bobby socks, and rolled up jeans. And I lobby, and I'm the only one dressed like this. I was mortified.
No.
I go in and I meet George. Look, there's a real tiny room with a big desk. So my back is kind of against the wall. There was all the space was taken up with the desk, basically. And so he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and you know, I'm dressed as this character, and didn't seem to go anywhere. And he's very, 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 very quiet person. He was really introverted then. And so I leave and I call my manager and say, well, you know, I blew it. I dressed as a character, and You know, he didn't seem to like that. Anyway, so a couple of weeks go by and I got a hold of the script and I read it and I'm like, wow, I can identify. This is what we did in Texas. You know, we'd go from Carlson's to Lone Star, back to Carlson's to Lone Star, round and round and round and round. And so I begged my manager, please, you got to get me back in. And she said, well, once they see you and they're not impressed, they don't want to see you again. Begged, and I got another appointment. And it was the same space with a little room with the big desk, and there's George.
So what did you wear this time?
And I go in just my ordinary everyday stuff. And so I go in and I did not mention I'd been there.
Oh.
Remember me from a couple of weeks ago? No, I said nothing. You know, I just like chit chat. Next thing they're calling me in to do a screen test.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go down to films and there's like 200 actors there because there's so many parts that they're casting.
All right, yeah.
And I see Judy Stranges from room 2 there, and I'm instantly intimidated. Like, she's gonna get it. And so finally, you know, there with all these actors, you know, wanting work. It's very, 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 you could, you know, as thick. So finally, my name gets called and I go to this little alcove where George is and Haskell Wexler and
Haskell Wexler was shooting the screen test.
He shot
Yes.
the movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, he didn't. He shot some of it, not all of it. I know he has a credit as like visual
consultant, but
consultant. Yeah.
Okay.
you know, I don't want to bust him with the union or anything. So,
Yeah.
shush. Anyway, so we meet Charles Martin Smith, and there's a bench, like a park bench, and that's supposed to be the car. And I meet Charles Martin Smith, and I'm thinking, oh no, he's too short. I'll never get this. And I'm too tall for him. And so I kind of just gave up trying and just did the dialogue like, blah, blah, blah. Boo, boo, boo. And lo and behold, I got it.
Yes,
I guess
you
because
did.
I came off as I didn't care. So,
You know, that character does have a lot of attitude.
but I just kind of naturalistically did it,
Mhm.
you know? And maybe the other actors were too hard, like I always did at my auditions. I hardly got anything. And
So what was it like acting in this film after the experience you had with Fat City, where, you know, you just didn't have much experience? By now you've had some acting
yeah, some classes and room 222. Don't forget that.
Amulet.
What's my key line? Say it.
My
My
amulet.
amulet.
My amulet.
So anyway, Charlie and I, you know, now that I got the part,
Right.
we decide that I'm going to drive my Volkswagen up there and we'll have a car, you know?
Right.
And where was it shot?
Huh?
Where was it shot?
Bay Area. We shot it in Petaluma. We started off in San Rafael. Mel's was in San Francisco. So they had their production office in San Francisco. So Charlie and I take off around 4 in the morning in the Volkswagen.
Mhm.
By 5 in the morning, the car had broken down in Santa
Oh,
Barbara.
Oh no.
I thought the Volkswagens didn't break down. They're supposed to be.
Oh my God, that fuel line. Anyway, found someone to work on the engine
Mhm.
out of their garage, the actual garage at their house. I just remember looking at Charlie and he was asleep on the sidewalk, flat out.
Oh.
Yeah, it was exhausting. We finally made it up to San Francisco around midnight.
Wow.
We took off at 4 in the morning and we get to San Francisco at midnight. I swear to God, we were exhausted. And before cell phones or any way to contact anyone. And they're like, where have you been? The broke down, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so they said, you got to do wardrobe now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we're just beat up. And so I'm trying these dresses, you know, these secondhand clothes, spaghetti strap dresses, and that blue and white stripe one fit me perfect. No alterations. I said, this is it. This is the one. It's great. I just wanted to go lie down. So picked that one, sweater, and, you know, did all of that really quick. And
So
then
what was
we
the
were in
first scene?
Petaluma and we were shooting.
What was the first scene you shot from that film?
I don't know. It was back in 72. My God. I've got a good memory, but sheesh.
So what was it like to go to the premiere of the film and see this film, you know, of course, you know, so many characters, and did you know how big it was going to be?
Well, if I knew what the future was bringing, I should have bought gold when it was $30 an ounce, but I didn't. 20/20 hindsight. Anyway, it was a low budget film, so it wasn't a premiere. There was a cast and crew screening at the old Writers Guild, a wooden building, and packed house. They had little hamburgers, and that was kind of the refreshments. And we, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Yeah, you're writing. Listen to my. I'm trying my best.
I was looking up. I hate to bring up a negative, but you were nominated for the Oscar. You didn't win it. And I was trying to remember who did for 1970.
Oh,
there's
Tatum
a story
O'Neal.
there. There's a story there.
Tatum O'Neal.
That's
Anyway.
right. Duh. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Right, Candy?
Yeah. Pay attention, man. There's going to be questions afterwards.
All right.
Anyway, so where was I in the story?
You were talking about the screening for cast and crew
Oh, yes.
with hamburgers.
So I was
Hamburgers.
sitting on it was packed house. I was sitting on the steps. You know how the steps go up. And anyway, it was really standing room only. And rock around the clock. The movie opened up.
Yeah.
Mel's Drive-In on the clock. And everyone, I swear to God, stood up and screamed.
Oh.
Yeah! And I thought, we got a hit. We got a hit.
Yeah, I mean, that film really does grab you at the beginning. And in some
It
films
does.
the music, the image, it puts you into this place, and it just, you know, keeps it
It
going.
does. And then the camera comes down, and then you see the characters arriving at Mel's and
Right.
Toad and, you know, Big John and Ron Howard, you know, and it's just masterful editing.
Yeah, and staging. I mean, it's a beautiful scene.
Very much.
So what is this story, Kelly?
Oh, well, that if we go back to the 2014 Lone Star Film Festival in Fort Worth, that Candy is at and playing American Graffiti, and who do they happen to be honoring? But
Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal, who stole
so-
her Oscar.
Stole it. Still mad.
And so did you have a conversation with her?
Well, I kind of broadsided her. She was like sitting with a group of people at some restaurant. Up to her, and I just go, and the winner is. And I point at her, and she was like so startled and so stunned. You know, she was just shocked. She had nothing to say. But yeah.
But, you know, the fact that you were
It's
nominated.
trying to be funny. funny and light about it, but she looked, you know, she didn't get it.
Or she did get it.
9 or whatever. So yeah.
So so after American Graffiti, where do we go after that?
Where do we go?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're the host.
So what was your next film project after that?
The Man Who Fell to Earth.
And how did that happen? I mean, two very, very different films, both of them with ties to music.
These are such long stories. How long are we going to be on?
6
We
hours.
got time.
6 hours.
We got 6 hours. We got plenty of time.
I promise. Okay.
We're not shooting this on film. We can keep going.
Well, I just wanted to point out this pin right here that I'm wearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And David Bowie gave me that for Christmas.
Oh.
Nice.
So I wore it tonight.
Sweet.
Oh.
Oh.
That's
Oh.
very special.
I get it because it's an old-timey rhinestone pin and it's got a few stones missing.
Okay.
I know.
To you.
After the movie was over with, I was oops. Is this phone tilted or it doesn't matter? Anyway, I was at a little apartment and the doorbell rings. I open the door and there's the limousine from the movie. Remember the blue?
Yeah.
From The Man Who Fell to Earth. And there's David Bowie. And he has this little gift and he gives it to me. He doesn't come in or any, and then he leaves.
Oh.
And that was it.
Oh.
Almost be the character in his film doing that. So how
I've kept it.
How did that part come about? How did that casting decision get made?
It came about through Silent, who wound up producing that film, and Nick Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hanging out with Nick Rogue one day, and he had a meeting at the
Wait a minute, you were just hanging out with Nicholas Rogue? Like, how cool is that? He was just your good buddy, just drinking buddy, going out hanging out with?
Yeah.
So what stories do you have about him that we don't know?
About Nick Rogue?
Yeah.
The secret stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I can't tell the secret stuff.
Sure you can.
No, we're on freaking Facebook and everything. This is not a private conversation, huh?
Just
but
the
anyway,
two of us talking.
What?
Just the two of us talking here.
Yeah, right. It's not Debbie anymore, okay?
So you were hanging out with your good buddy
Nick Rogue, and he had this meeting and he had this script and he was going to go into this meeting and do I want to read this script? And I said, yeah, sure. Because I wasn't involved in the meeting. I was just sitting on a bench waiting for it to be over with. So I'm reading the script and about 2 hours later, he comes out of the meeting and he says, so what'd you think? And I said, it's fantastic. I love it. And he said, do you want the part? And I'm like, yes.
Oh no, I would just want to be an extra on this one.
Yeah, is there a part for me like in the background of the scene? You know?
I just want to be an extra. What are you pushing this stuff for? Anyway, so it was about 6 or 8 months after I was given the part, first hired, and you know, they had to get the money together and all of that and the locations, and Nick brought in crew, his British crew, and we all kind of met in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and started shooting that. And it was great. I wanted to do every part in the film. I love the script so much. And Paul Myersberg wrote it.
Well,
and
tell the secret that you did do a David Bowie's part.
I did. I doubled for David Bowie in the film.
Where which scene was that?
Can you find me?
you know, I've seen the film many times and I have not seen you
I'm in
playing it.
there as David Bowie, his clothes, in his hat.
How
Really?
did that happen?
Now
How
you got to
how'd
watch
that
it
come
again.
about? How'd that come about?
Well, if I tell too much, then you don't have to go back and watch the film.
We will go
I
back
give
and
too
watch
many
it. Believe
clues,
me.
but I want you to go back, watch it frame by frame. Stop, stop, frame, stop, frame. Is that her? It's just a small assignment. It'll take, you know, since
It'll
we're on
take
lockdown.
6 hours.
What else do you have to do? But you need to find me in there and then to me, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
So what was it like meeting Bowie for the first time?
Well, I hadn't been to any of his concerts, and so it was just like meeting an actor, really. Thank God I hadn't seen him in concert. I would have been like just a drooling fan because I saw him in concert after we finished the film, and then I was all intimidated, and a fan. And oh yeah, Ola Hudson did David Bowie's costumes, but Hey Ralph did mine, and most of my clothes were off the rack. A lot of it was from Fredericks of Hollywood.
Of course.
Down on Hollywood Boulevard. A lot of the jumpsuits were from that sexy store on Hollywood Boulevard, Fredericks.
Yes.
I don't know if it's still there anymore.
I somehow don't think so. I think, yeah, that era sort of has gone away. So what was it
that
like?
Yellow jumps, yeah.
Yeah, what was it like working with him? Because he's not
very,
like a
very
traditional
easy.
actor.
Actually, he accommodated me so because the dialogue was so good in that script that I did not want to improvise or change anything. So the only way I can learn something is by saying it a million times. And luckily, David Bowie was trained to do rehearsals and not be bothered by it. And so in between, back in the day, took a long time for them to, do all of that stuff and the dolly tracks and whatever.
Right.
But so the actors would have a lot of downtime. And when we would be shooting one scene and then we'd have downtime, David and I would be running the lines for the next scene. So we could just do it very naturalistic and say all the great words and, no improvising. And, that was the challenge. He was great to work with because he didn't mind. A lot of actors think they get stale by running the lines over and over. It really helps me. So I don't want to be, insecure about knowing the lines. And then, the scene, I'm thinking, what's the next line? What's the next line? That's what I don't like. So the repetition of lines really helps me.
Good.
I was never a good student in school, so.
Well, so the role in this film, I think, has a lot more depth to it than what you've done before, and your character goes through, many different emotions through that. How did you sort of work through that, and how did the directing help you?
Well, Nick Rogue is great director, and he treated he like a coach. He was right there, right out of frame, just inches away, and he would be doing body movements, and out of the corner of your eye see him like gesturing with his body and his shoulders and his hands and for pacing. And so that was a real big help of him just being right there. Today, when they do a movie, the actor is really far away in another room and he's looking at a monitor, and it's not you know, it's not quite the same.
No,
I like the
never
old
liked
style
the
when they
idea.
were right there. Huh?
I never liked the idea of directing when you can't see the people you're directing. I mean, it's like there's something about the process of the actor looking at your face to see
Yeah, and your
this is
body
what you want.
movements, and
Right.
you know, you get the idea of what's necessary.
There's a kind of coldness in the directing process.
Totally, totally. It's you're almost like a bug, you know. They're looking at framing and stuff that is not as important to me, but
So
I don't know.
my friend Lou wants to know some dish on Carrie Snodgrass. Do tell, Candy.
Well, we were to do a play together called A Couple of White Chicks Sitting Around at this off-Broadway theater in New York City. And, you know, we rehearsed, we did everyone from, anyway, we rehearsed and everything. And then I was there for maybe a month, and we never did the play together because she had the worst luck.
Oh,
she got mugged. She got thrown down the stairs. She broke her leg.
Oh, that's awful.
Bed. I mean, it was like I did the whole thing with the understudy.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah. So at the end, because she seemed a black cloud over her head, I said casually, "So, what flight are you going back to LA?"
You're not going that way.
No.
It wasn't
the
the
weirdest
understudy that was doing all that, was it?
What?
It wasn't
What'd
the
you say?
understudy that was doing all of that.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Tanya Harding.
Maybe. It
So
wasn't me.
we have a
Believe me.
question here. Tell us about Tom Selleck and Magnum PI.
Tell us about him.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he was wonderful. And I was angling to get myself, you know, my regular. But unfortunately, I got there toward the end of their whole, you know, series. And I got there too late. But I did manage to get a couple of episodes before they completely shut down. He was really easy to work with.
Oh,
I mean, you know, beautiful guy. Wonderful, handsome, comedic, you know, cute.
You've worked with some nice guys.
I have.
Gordon
so-
has a question.
What's that?
Gordon has a question.
Gordon, ask your question.
Hi, Candy. We've never met, but in 2015, I produced the tribute video for your Lifetime Achievement Award at the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival.
Did you?
I did,
Oh,
and it was
gosh.
then shown a couple of months later at the St. Augustine Festival. I still have a copy of it.
I posted it on Facebook and tagged you, Candy.
Yeah,
But
put it on. It's really nice. I think Charlie says nice things.
Good. I did have a question for you. I'd like to hear your memories of two people, Harrison Ford and Robert Mitchum.
Ah, Robert Mitchum. Now, he was great.
What was
He
he
was a
like?
great guy. Really down to earth. And, you know, when you're sitting waiting for them to light, he'd be sitting in a chair and you'd be sitting at his feet and he'd be telling old Hollywood stories about being arrested and, you know, Juana and, you know, just great. And when I did scenes with him, my character was kind of half crazy and I'd be myself at him, or, you know, and he just played along. I never asked him, hey, if I kind of half faint, can you hold me? And I would just surprise him with stuff. And he was just game for everything and anything. He was a really great guy. And Harrison, American Graffiti, but we never did any scenes together. And, you know, we'd have lunch together. He kind of, you know, quiet.
Yeah, okay. I've heard that about him.
So we have a question here. Candy, what was it like acting in front of a live audience?
Scary. I didn't much care for it. It's really memorize all those lines and then remember where you are supposed to be on stage, and gosh, and then acting with the understudy and with Carrie. I would be, you know, thinking I would be, you know, the character was a housewife and I'd be folding clothes, you know, as the character. And then I'm thinking, no, I'm supposed to be over there, you know, doing this.
No.
And I was just frazzled by the whole thing. Didn't care for it.
We have another question here. It says,
and to memorize a whole script and do it in 2 hours is not easy.
Yeah.
And then to do it all over again the next night.
Yeah, and you're like, no, I just want to be an extra.
Would be an extra in an opera. I'll just stand in the back.
Yeah.
How many takes did you have to do for your scenes in Zodiac? Fincher is known for doing many takes. And what was it like to work with him as a director? As
well,
the others.
Apparently, I wasn't one of those people. A million takes. Either he liked what I was doing, or he figured there we can't improve this. So let's just deal with what we. So yeah, it was just like a regular amount of takes. Nothing, you know, grueling or what I've heard about. You know, but it was just my character was opening the mail from the Zodiac and screaming. And then I did fuss at Jake Gyllenhaal. When are you gonna get this work
done? So of all the roles you've had, what is your favorite moment of a performance of yours? The one that you like really love and cherish the most?
My favorite moment out of all?
Yeah, out of all these films, out of all these scenes.
My moment?
Yes, your
like
moments. Yeah.
A moment.
Yeah.
Gosh. That's a tough one because I've liked all the films I ever worked on in Fat City, even though I was a greenhorn. A lot to like about that. You know, the weekends, Jeff Bridges.
Yeah. Working with Jeff Bridges, not a bad way to start.
No, so cute. God, he was so handsome then. Still is.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do an imitation of John Huston?
What?
Everybody I've ever seen interviewed who worked with John Huston did an imitation of John Huston. Can you do one? His voice.
Let me try. All right, let's try it again. Let's try it. That would be me with no direction, like try it, you know, this way or try it that way. It's just like leave you on your own, out of your league. And he's just saying, let's try it again.
Wow.
Okay.
I'll try that directing sometime.
Having a nervous breakdown here. Okay.
Do you want to talk about the Blob? How did you get that one?
It was fun. That one was fun. And I had this great final scene in a phone booth.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah. And they had made a full body cast that they wound up not using. But that was to have all this plaster on your body. And I had to have my knees crouched, bent, and because I was supposed to be trying to the walls of the phone booth back so the blob wouldn't get in. And so I have some photos of that. I need to bring of me covered in plaster.
Oh.
Yeah, with this stick. I sat on a 2x4. That was what was holding me up, was this my legs crossed, my hands out, and that was a challenge. And then of course they do a face, and that's even worse because now you've got this plaster all over your face and these straws up your nose, and you're being suffocated by, and not to get claustrophobic and tear that stuff off, but it's
So
all fun.
Now we need to go back and watch that scene again.
Yeah, they wound up doing miniatures. All that plaster of work. Yeah, who knows where the full-size body wound.
So we have a few questions here in the chat. Before you were on,
They better be good.
well, I'll let you decide that. Before you were on Twin Peaks, had you seen the series, and what do you think about it?
No, I don't have cable.
All right, the next one.
I don't watch TV.
You don't watch TV? Well, what do you?
I just watch regular TV. Huh?
What are you doing during the
What?
pandemic if you don't watch TV?
I'm, been a big marathon on Sopranos.
Oh,
awesome.
good time to catch up on the Sopranos.
That took up a lot of time.
Yep.
Many episodes.
Hey,
and then
when the pandemic started,
and then Rome, about that
Rome was good.
series, Rome. Yeah, that was good.
I watched Game of Thrones from beginning to end, and that took a long time.
Oh my God.
I didn't
What was
know
that?
Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. Just bought from people a bunch of stuff and just watched, marathon style.
So somebody wants to know, the script for The Man Who Fell to Earth was not known for its clarity. What made you like it so much after one reading?
The script was good. It's
a good story.
And yeah, I mean, who's asking this question?
I'm not going to tell. You kept secrets. Why should we tell?
Yeah, you didn't tell us secrets.
Block them.
No.
Well, every time I've seen that film, and I've seen it many times, I feel I just get different things out of it each time.
Yeah.
It's one of those films that
It's complicated.
It's complicated, and when you see it, it's like you bring your experience at that moment to all the things, and you interpret it in a different way.
Yeah, and you're bringing in your fandom, David Bowie and all that.
And you. Okay, we have another question from Facebook saying, Christy wants to know, and this is who it's from, if you have any comments about David Carradine.
There's a story there. I don't know what.
Well, we're working together, and I'm his wife. He's an alcoholic, and I'm his wife, and we're country and western singers.
Yeah.
And so these are tales out of school. These are not.
It's okay. You're among friends.
It's only
here.
1,000. Anyway, this is no, I can't tell these bad stories.
Just tell one.
Mm-mm.
All right.
Sorry, I'm not a kiss and teller.
Oh, there was kissing.
Ah.
See, that's how rumors get started,
I know. It must run in the family. What must run?
Well, Kelly, I'll give you the last question because
Oh wow. Okay.
It better be good, Kelly.
Oh gosh, pressure's on.
Yeah.
So
The pressure.
what film do
Yes.
you wish you were an extra in?
An extra? I don't know. An extra? I don't want to be an extra.
Okay, that's bad. Okay, here's Billy Clark on Facebook ask him.
Oh, it's my brother.
Oh, yeah, it is. She said, ask him if he had any stories. He won't tell any candies, and he won't tell any candy stories either. Oh, that's a good one.
If I have any stories,
Okay. Ask him if he had any stories, and he won't tell any candy stories either.
Ask David Carradine, in other words.
Yeah, David Carradine. Sorry.
so
Playing
Brother Billy wants to know if he has any candy stories. He's got a million of them.
No, I asked him and he wouldn't tell any. So it must run in the family to not talk out of school.
Oh, he won't tell? Nah.
Were you playing real life country
It's-
singers? Which ones?
We just had the big hair and the sequin outfit.
There wasn't a biopic. In other words.
Anyway, I'll tell part of the scandalous story,
Okay.
not the full thing.
Okay.
So anyway, all like, okay. Anyway, so it's lunchtime, and so I go knock on David's door for his, trailer. Hey, you want to go to lunch? And knock on it, and he opens the door. He's just wearing these red underwear, and those skin tight ones, like what do they call, Speedos or something?
Yeah.
Tiny whiteys.
Yeah. And he's naked except for that, and his
Oh.
body's covered in tattoos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
And
that.
tape.
Really? Oh, okay. I did
Well,
not know.
on that
I
note,
told you it was bad. And so I said, well, that's okay. He said, no, I'm not going to go out to lunch. I'm like, okay,
Never mind.
see you on the set.
well,
Yeah, it was horrible. Don't ask me for any more of those scandalous stories. That's it. I don't want to miss anyone else.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
well, Candy, thank you so much for spending 6 hours with us.
Whew.
And
Flew by.
Yay. Thanks everyone for showing up.
and we really, really appreciate you. And everybody's homework assignment is to go and watch The Man Who Fell to Earth and
Find me in the movie.
right.
And Kelly, before
Yes.
everyone signs off, take a shot.
Take what?
Take a group shot of all of us.
Oh,
Like